move on to the next subject for today. The next subject for today is Marvel's New Warriors. And I have to say, I am extremely disappointed with where this looks like it's going. First of all, some of the opening comments to me, I think, are really, really weird. Like, especially for a comic book writer, it's odd. It's really strange. And especially given that comic book writer's line of work. So this trailer that was put out recently by Marvel's New Warriors, just take a look at the bottom of the screen there where it shows the dislikes and the likes. There's 3.7 thousand likes and 175,000 dislikes. People do not like where this is going. And I'm one of those people. So I'll be upfront right out of the gate. I'll try to talk through it, you know, without getting too hardcore about it, you know what I mean? If you want to get hardcore about it, you can talk with me in the comments. I'll hit you up there, but for the sake of everyone watching, let's just go through this. I'm going to turn up the audio for this trailer. Hopefully you guys can hear it. And do let me know if you guys think you can hear this or not, because that helps me if we can adjust this in the live so I don't have to re-record this or deal with it. Daniel Kibblesmith, I think, is the name of the guy. If I'm not mistaken, Daniel Kibblesmith is the guy that's talks through this video, narrates it, that wrote this story, and it's a doozy. So let's go. I'm gonna pause it kind of frequently so we can just take it piece by piece. Oh, and keep in mind, I think this might have something to do with why the Marvel New Warriors TV show got canned. Back in, I think it was late 2017, early 2018 or something like that. It just disappeared. And I was following it at the time, and then there was no news whatsoever. But if you hit up the actors that were in the show, they already recorded parts of the show. I think they recorded the whole show for season 1, I think it was, for Freeform. But then Freeform dropped them, and then ABC said they were going to pick them up, and then they didn't. And then it was like, it just got caught in limbo. It just disappeared. But yeah, let's check this out. There he is. That's the original New Warriors, okay? So this is not the one we're talking about right now. The one we're talking about, he's going to explain in a second, are the underlings coming up underneath these New Warriors. And these New Warriors the New Warriors are supposed to be people that are kind of like young, and in their story arc throughout the years, they stay young, they don't age. I don't know if that was intentional or it's just like, it's a comic, they're the kids, they're supposed to be the kids, let's keep them the kids. Kind of like how The Simpsons does it, where they just ignore aging altogether. In this case, this takes it to the next level where the New Warriors are now the older New Warriors, and the new Warriors are these new underlings we're about to meet. And it's, yeah, I'll just let you get there. I want you guys to keep that in mind. I'm going to show you something in just a second. Daniel Kibblesmith, the writer of this, he just came off of writing Black Panther versus Deadpool, okay? And I'll show you that so you don't have to take my word for it. You can actually see that, and I linked it in the description of this video so you can see that for yourself. I linked the Google search so you can see Daniel Kibblesmith's work. He said he was kind of intimidated by these characters growing up. He didn't really connect with them. And one of the reasons is because he felt intimidated by Night Thrasher having blades, even though clearly his enemies have blades. Like, he's kind of a ninja. His enemies are also ninjas. He has a blade on his wrist. He uses weapons. And he was like, I just didn't like that. I was intimidated by that. I want you to keep that in mind for a second, because that's going to tie into something that is completely hypocritical, not only to where he's coming from off of his previous work, but also what he just did and what he's trying to promote to us right now. That's a weird comment too. Nova was really buff. Look at the shoulders on this guy. Is that North Star? I can't tell who that is. It looks like it might be North Star following Namorita here, but and I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that one. But basically, look at the muscles on every comic book character ever. And he's just saying that because Nova wore a tank top, he was like physically intimidated. I'll give it to you that the tank top is clearly an accentuation of his muscles, but Nova's not. I don't think he has like super strength, or maybe the original Richard Rider did, but the Nova core basically just it allows him to fly at ridiculous speeds, and I believe he has energy projection as well. I'll double check to check the super strength, but it's not due to his physique. It's due to the Nova helmet. It's not like he's born with ridiculous strength, or he's like the Incredible Hulk or Captain America, Super Soldier Serum, or Wolverine, or pretty much any of the X-Men where they're born with innate enhanced strength. This is how comic book artists just draw comic book characters, and Daniel Kibblesmith has a problem with that, especially coming off of Black Panther and Deadpool apparently. So let's continue. Right here. I mean, I'm not the one like conspiratizing and telling you guys that he worked on this other thing. Go check it out. It's like he's telling you in the video he just finished working on Deadpool versus Black Panther. You know, there's blades on every single finger of Black Panther. They're ripped out of their mind. Deadpool, katanas, bombs, every weapon you could possibly imagine. It's Deadpool and Black Panther. And his issues with Night Thrasher and Nova are muscles and weapons. Take a gander at this. All right. I want you to just take a look. On the far left, we have twins. Male and female are apparently not male and female. They're non-binary. We'll get to that in a second. It's a comic book, so you can have, you can make up whatever you want. And the guy in the middle, clearly gadgets oriented. We've got Dora the Explorer. Apparently spent her whole life exploring Panda Express. Like me, and Hometown Buffet. And then on the right, we have probably what is the most interesting character, but we'll get to in a second. So the whole point of this new Warriors is that these kids are rebels because it's illegal to be a hero or a vigilante under the age of 21. But a vigilante is already a hero that is not operating within the confines of the law. Like, it's already, vigilantism is already not legal. Under 21, like, it's like getting pulled over while driving and you're drunk, and the person and the officer driving, or the officer that pulls you over is like, hey, you're drunk? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, okay, I'm going to let you go. Wait a minute. Are you underage? It's like, you're drunk driving. That's already a crime. You know what I mean? So he's like saying they're vigilantes, which is already against the law. And then to be under 21 is also illegal. But they're rebels for this. And it's like, it's just odd. It's kind of funny. I mean, the art's quite vibrant. It actually kind of looks a little bit on the, like, and not with the characters themselves, but like the colors and like the paneling. It looks kind of like a Boom Comics Power Rangers comic, which I actually really like the art style for. I like the vibrant colors. I like how it jumps off the page. That part of it is nice, but the premise to me is it's annoyingly underthought. Like they did not think about how redundant the premise is. And that is the first sign of crappy writing. Um, and then and then we'll get to not only the designs here, but also the characters' powers and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna stop there because we're gonna take this piece by piece. So first up, we're talking about uh, Dora the Explorer here. We're talking about Trailblazer. Again, she's a normie. She's not super. She inherited a special magic backpack from her grandfather. I can't tell if she's supposed to be. She looks like she's supposed to be Native American, but she is so on the she's ethnically ambiguous. Like for instance, if you were to look at me and you try to take a look at what I look like, you probably would not guess unless you've been following my channel and you know me personally, or you know I've said like what I've said in the past. You would probably not guess. People never guess my ethnicity correctly. Even, and I'm not talking about like 12 generations ago, 5 generations. I'm talking about my dad. I'm talking about who my dad is. You wouldn't guess, but this picture here is also ethnically ambiguous. You can't really tell. Is it supposed to be Mexican? Is it supposed to be like Native American? Is it supposed to be Middle Eastern? Is it supposed to be like Asian? Like it's hard to pin down. It looks so in the middle of what it could be. And because he doesn't clarify here, we don't really know. I would guess that this is supposed to be a Native American character because that would give it kind of like a backdoor entrance into being like Hispanic, Latina. That whole subgenre is kind of in the same ballpark as Native American, although there's historical complications that separate the two. And I know this because my dad is Native American, so you might not have guessed that from me. My mom is super white. I came out super white, but that's what I am, and you can't barely tell because I'm kind of like neutrally kind of look, not a lot of distinct features. And so in this situation, I guess it's kind of similar. Hard to tell. Maybe they will clarify her ethnicity in the comic. I'm not gonna read it. But you absolutely should and tell me how it goes. It's just funny. Like, it's so close to Dora the Explorer. Like, hola, mi nombre es Dora. And then she takes the backpack and she's on the journey. Trailblazer. It's Dora. So they have Super Dora, but she's not powered. It's the backpack. The backpack is the power. And she gets shoehorned into superheroism because she kind of helped out Night Thrasher while Night Thrasher was on a mission. Like, she just happened to be there, and then like the cops came, and then she's like, "No, I gotta run with you." And now she's a vigilante. She's registered or whatever. But yeah, so it's odd. I'm not gonna knock the origin, but the design is really close to Dora the Explorer. So she's just like super super confident. It's basically the same story as what was it? The second Hawkeye. So Hawkeye's disciple, I'm forgetting the name exactly. What is it? Kate Bishop. Kate Bishop has kind of a similar thing, like where she's really skilled with items. She's not super, but she gets trained by Hawkeye, and she gets kind of shoehorned into superheroism when her sister's wedding gets attacked, and she kind of just like, what are we going to do? We have to do something. And then she kind of rises to the challenge. She's the courageous one that kind of puts together the Young Avengers. This is the same thing, just with, I think, a less awesome character. I don't know, because I haven't read any of the comics, I guess, but apparently 175,000 other people agree with me. Let's go to the next character. There's not a lot more to say about her, so let's go to the next one. Okay, let me just stop there and we'll talk about this for just a second before he continues on to what the name means. So the origin of this character, screen time. Basically, he's taking the name that is supposed to usually be derogatory to describe this character who's basically, I don't know if you guys have seen Chuck. If you guys have watched the series Chuck, he's just a nerd herd guy, basically like a Best Buy Geek Squad type of dude. And he opens up this video file sent to him from someone that's supposed to be dead, his old friend, who's working for the CIA. There's a computer program called the Intersect, and he opens that and it flashes 1 billion images into his mind, and he basically gets data stored in the back of his mind. So if he sees a criminal, if he sees a logo or something that is tied to CIA files, he flashes, he's like, and then he gets mind dumped all of this data, flashbacks of that information from the CIA hard drive. He basically has a computer in his head. This is kind of the same idea where Chuck's father was the guy responsible for creating the Intersect. Spoiler alert, I guess. And in this situation, it's his, did he say his grandfather? I think he said it was his grandfather's computer. Wait, hold on. There we go. Grandfather's experimental internet gas, which is probably a nanite cloud. And then he becomes permanently locked into the internet. I think that origin is pretty cool. I think that one actually does sound really nice. It would be interesting to see if screen time ends up just becoming like another version of Marvel's like Cyborg, for instance. It sounds to me like he's Cyborg. But I do like the design of this guy. This guy to me looks pretty cool. He's got kind of a Cyclops vibe, sort of mixed with who's that kid from the Teen Titans? Gizmo. he looks like Gizmo and Cyclops had a baby and it came out to be screen time. But now let's go ahead and talk about, for instance, the name and why it's so important to this author. I think this author's got some major daddy parent issues, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, but we're going to hear about this. I think he was bullied really hard and never ended up standing up for himself, so he's taking it out on Marvel comic readers. Let's go ahead and read this, or listen. I can get down with that. This is the spoiler for the crappiest part of this video. But anyway, so he's saying that the point of this character is that the name screen time is a phrase that is commonly referred to in a restrictive or sometimes derogatory type of sense, where if you are if like, for instance, you hear the word screen time, it's usually like your parents are saying, okay, you don't get any screen time today, you can play video games on Friday after you finish your homework. That's a restriction, that's a boundary. And the idea for Daniel Kibblesmith is that this character gets unlimited screen time all the time. It's basically like a rebel against your parents type of storyline. And you know, I mean, there's room for that, I guess. It seems like kind of a dumb concept. I mean, the name, I guess, is whatever. This one I don't have a huge problem with. The problems come with Dora the Explorer, I think mainly, and the two we're about to talk about in just 1 second. So, you know, if I have to rank all of these guys, I would suggest that probably Screen Time might be the best one. I would say he's probably the best, and then the one that we haven't gotten to, and then probably Dora, and then the next two we'll talk about in just 1 second. Ooh. Okay. He's going to tell you guys right now that the idea for their names and their identities and everything to do with them is the same principle that was for Screen Time. The idea there is that he's named after something that, you know, is typically something restrictive that he then gets to own and become. The idea here with Snowflake and Safe Space. Oh man, this is okay. I try to keep my channel apolitical. I try not to get my political views tied into these videos, because that's not why people usually come here. That's not, you know, that's, I'm trying to have a good time. You're trying to have a good time. And what we like is the comics. What we like is the movies. We don't always like the same stuff. That's not the point of a movie. We get to talk and debate and discuss theories about certain things. You know, whatever it might, Snyder Cut, who knows? But with this, these are two words that are thrown around a lot, and sometimes for very interesting reasons. They're often, you find them on college campuses, which I think is why they chose a backpack for Dora the Explorer, is not just because she travels, she's trailblazer, but because she's supposed to represent a minority on a college campus. In this case, Snowflake and Safe Space, a snowflake is someone that has an emotional or intellectual meltdown because they cannot stand the heat of an ulterior opinion or a difference of opinion. A safe space on a college campus is a place where free speech has been restricted because snowflakes, because people cannot have discussions about serious, heavy political topics without emotional trauma. They're basically intellectual babies, intellectual children who cannot handle or think for themselves. They have to be protected from alternate opinions. They have to be protected from someone else's worldview. And a safe space is a place where only one way of thinking is allowed. And you can't say anything that's contrary to that. You can't suggest anything contrary to that, because snowflakes will have a meltdown. They will melt. They can't handle the heat of a intellectual debate or a conversation or alternate opinion. They can't respect another person despite their disagreements. For instance, everyone is welcome on my channel. Everyone is welcome to discuss and comment. Leave a comment in the live video. Your comment, your opinion will become a part of the Stuff of Legend if you comment in the live. And that's something that I afford to you guys. I don't turn these off. I don't answer them in a separate video where I can cut and trim around them. None of that. You can ask anything you want because I encourage free speech. This is these two names represent the two principles that defy free speech. And you will find those primarily on college campuses where free speech is suppressed. So, Snowflake and Safe Space is what these guys are named after. And you can see the snowflake on one as their logo and a bubble around dots as the other. And let's get into the rest of this. He's saying that basically these two have been called these names and they own it. They own it. They're proud of it. They're a snowflake. They have safe spaces, and they that's the whole point of these characters. Let's continue. Hold up. This is a stereotypical jock. So he's saying, first of all, do you guys remember what Daniel Kibblesmith said about Nova in the beginning is that he was intimidated by Nova because of his muscles, because of his physique, because he was strong, because he was masculine. And in this case, he's saying, let's rewind it just a hair so you guys can hear this. What about this guy? Big, burly, stereotypical jock. And now, I ask you this, people. You can leave your comments, answers in the description, and we'll get to them. I don't know any jocks that wear all pink and have pink dyed hair, earrings, short booty shorts. I don't know of a lot of jocks. I don't find that to be stereotypical. Stereotypical means it is something that is not always, but usually true. It is usually true. And I would suggest that this is an unusual jock. And I think 175,000 other people find this to be unusual, Daniel Kibblesmith. This is not a stereotypical jock. This is an unstereotypical jock. But let's keep going. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. Am I wrong? Am I crazy? Am I a jerk? Do you need a safe space? Let's talk about it in the comments. And he's about to break into the powers, which, again, I find a couple of issues with. Let's go ahead. Did you catch that? So, safe space can create force fields like Invisible Woman, where she can protect herself or others. Except this guy can't protect himself. He can't create a force field unless there's multiple people. I would like to know, how does his power activate? Where does he get his abilities? Because I would imagine that it would be kind of hard for his power to identify when to trigger all these buzzwords, when he's okay to use that power. How is his body receiving that signal? Is it a magical power? Like, was his powers bestowed as magic? Because if it's like, for instance, Thor's hammer is not heavier than other objects, really. It's a heavy hammer, but it's not so heavy that no one can lift it. It's magically imbued with a blessing / curse where no one else can. It's an enchantment that no one else can pick it up except for the person who is worthy of the power of Thor. Mjolnir can only be picked up by Thor, not because of Thor's powers, but because of a magical enchantment that gets to skip logic. It gets to skip any kind of scientific backing. It's not really sci-fi. Now we're getting into the realm of fantasy. In this consideration, how does his powers get there? I mean, they don't really say how he gets his powers. They don't say how Snowflake gets her powers or Safe Space. They just say that this is the power. And I would suggest if they're mutant, it seems like a bit of a caveat that we just have to kind of take on faith for this one. I mean, it's a superpower. I get it. You can just make up whatever you want. But up until now, things kind of had like a logical trail to them. Like you could kind of understand it. Or there was the caveat of magic where you don't have to understand it. They usually try to do a lot to back up these powers. And in this case, there doesn't seem to be a lot of explanation. I'm sure that the comics themselves will probably dive into that, how they got their powers, their origin, that sort of thing. None of that here. Just that he can create force fields only if he's sheltering other people. Remember what I said about a safe space is a place where free speech is suppressed to protect snowflakes from hearing alternate opinions. And that's the idea. I think his power is probably intrinsically connected to his sister, kind of like a Moss and Menno on Titans. You know, like Moss and Menno, they're the guys that when they touch, their power unleashes and they can do super speed together but not apart. Safe Space, I think, is probably going to be intrinsically linked to his sister, but they're saying that it could be other people in general. So not sure. Maybe it's hormone Oh man, could you imagine if it was hormone related? That'd be like too ironic. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Only trigger. Oh wow. Snowflake is non-binary and goes by they them. It's not a girl, people. It's not a female. This is a non-binary. It's magic, guys. All right. So let's pretend that that's irrelevant. Okay, great. Fine. Fine. We'll give you that one. She's totally, she's non-binary. She's one of the 57 other genders out of the 59 apparent ones on Facebook that have not gotten the coronavirus yet. So far it's just been men and women. Not sure why it's not affecting any of the other 57 genders, but hey, more power to them. Glad they're all safe. With Snowflake, she is non-binary. They are non-binary. Pardon me. Doesn't identify as a she, but that's okay. We'll give it to her. Them. This is hard. Who cares? I'm sorry, guys. Give me a pass on this one because I'm not used to this garbage. But anyway. Crystallized snowflake shurikens. Yes. It's funny because he says in our culture, it is the word snowflake is not an actual reference to someone. Like the if you look it up in the dictionary, it's a snowflake. It's crystallized ice that falls from the sky, in snow. It's snow. But in this situation, obviously in a cultural aspect, he's right. It is not just typically, it is exclusively in reference to people who cannot handle themselves around alternate opinions. They melt down, they scream, they riot, they stop. For instance, like speakers who have been hired to speak at college campuses, they go and they picket and they scream stupid chants and stuff because they cannot handle an alternate opinion on their college campus, and they demand safe spaces. That's what they do. That's a snowflake. And so he's referencing this here, saying she owns it, she's proud of it, and her power is that she can actually create ice shurikens. She can create snowflakes, but they are solid, like shurikens, aka weapons, aka the exact problem he said he had with Night Thrasher. He said in the beginning he didn't like Night Thrasher because of the blades he had on his wrist right after he came off of doing Deadpool and Black Panther, also blade wielding people. Black Panther's claws are blades, vibranium, sharp enough to cut through basically anything except for probably adamantium. And in this situation, he then goes ahead and creates a character with the same attributes as his problem he had with Nova, a buff, stereotypical jock in safe space, and then goes ahead and does the same thing he had a problem with Night Thrasher with this chick. She throws razor sharp, hard as ice shurikens. This guy doesn't make any sense. Daniel Kibblesmith, what are you talking about? Your whole premise, the whole beginning half of this movie should have been left off. You should have jumped straight to the characters so we wouldn't have any of this ammo you gave us to analyze your video. Anyway, let's continue because I want to hear more about what he has to say about Snowflake. So non-binary, of course. By the way, we could have told you that looking at the costume and character designs. Yes. Sharp. Like a blade coming out of Night Thrasher's wrists. Very cloak and dagger, by the way. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into this before he continues on. This character, the puns are a little much to take, but I will say I do enjoy the origin of this character. I think this character has maybe the best thought out origin of them all, except for the fact that he's like it's really punny. Like and I like some puns. I like me a good pun. I'm a father of 3. I like a good pun. But again, when you're coming off of the heels of like the entire team having really puntastic names, it's a lot to swallow. But I will say this is not the worst character. I like the Michael Morbius tie-in because that it continues to validate Michael Morbius. It actually takes a character we all know and love and says this character exists because this other character whose backstory involves saving the life of people by blood transfusion and that sort of thing, it created his own powers that way, had a life-saving blood transfusion that caused this guy to turn into basically kind of the same thing, but it saved his life. I can appreciate that. That actually does. It sounds pretty cool. I like that origin. I'm not knocking B Negative's origin whatsoever. I think that might be the most solid origin on the team. The name B Negative is clearly a reference to blood type. Okay, you got a half vampire, or full vampire, and I don't know if this kid transforms or if he just sticks that way. It looks like he sticks that way, but B Negative is a blood type. But again, he's gonna say this in a second. I've already seen this. I'll play this so you can get there. But origin, pretty cool. Like that. Name, it's a double pun. Check this out. Goth Kid. It's interesting to me that he gave both of the men, or 2 out of 3 of the men on this team, the color pink as their dominant color and made them both look wildly homosexual. Very interesting to me. One more thing I wanted to show you guys. I will jump back to this screen. We're not done on this video. Don't worry about that. But just a quick side note. Look at the far right of this screen. Maybe you can't see it at this moment. I'm going to pull it up this way. Can you guys see on the far right there? It says Santa's husband. So next to Quantum and Woody, he's done Lockjaw, he's done Valiant High, he's done Rugrats, C is for Chinooka or whatever. He's got Black Panther versus Deadpool, Loki, The God Who Fell. He's working on something called Princess Dinosaur. But on the far right, Santa's husband is one of those books he's done. I would just like to say this guy is quite obsessed. And that's a children's book, mind you. He's quite obsessed with presenting sexuality to underage kids. And I don't like that. I'm put off by that because he wrote a children's book about that, and now he's writing this comic. Again, this is me just getting, I guess, real candid about my own opinion. Hopefully you guys don't need a safe space, but please make your opinions public in the comments. I will read them. And but now he's intentionally adding, sexuality into the equation for underage kids. Again, these heroes are underaged. And it's easy to detect a pattern, especially because a lot of people that side with that movement, side with that ideology, come from these academia, college, campus groups that also advocate for limited freedom of speech, that also advocate for safe spaces. They are the ones that are the snowflakes. Often they can't have these debates without immediately jumping to name calling. You're this, you're that, and they don't have arguments of their own to actually put forth and debate. So if you are not one of those people and you have arguments to debate, bring it on. You're welcome here. You're not an enemy. You're someone that I would love to talk with. So let's get it. But it is interesting to me that 2 of the 3 dudes are like in hot pink and this, he's vampiric, so I understand kind of the tone. Very gothic, I guess, so like a lot of the dark and the studs and stuff, but it does seem a little hypersexualized for an underage character. Anyway, that's just those are the thoughts of my brain 2 weeks into quarantine or whatever. So let's continue. I warned you guys in the beginning, I get kind of like questioning, conspiratorial about this kind of stuff. But Daniel Kibblesmith just isn't making a lot of sense. So this one's an easy pick off. So that's another thing, is that he's encouraging youths to just own your bad attitude. Don't correct it. Don't be a better person. Don't respect other people. Be negative. That was the point. It's not just the blood type be negative. It's telling you that it's okay to be negative to other people, with other people, in your interactions with other people. And again, not a great message for kids. I'm not going to buy this comic for my kids. I'm not going to buy this comic for myself. So let's go ahead and just like let him finish the video on his own, because we have talked about this for quite some time at this point, but whatever. I'm enjoying myself discussing this. Hopefully you guys are too. Probably not. Yeah. I've got no problem with diversity. It's not like it's not like something that affects the story. It just is, like it's not like there wasn't diversity in the original team either. It's already there. So if someone's like, oh, hey, like you don't like these, and this will happen, mark my words. If you say you don't like the new Warriors, one of the accusations will almost guaranteed be, what, do you have a problem with diversity? Or like, like that kind of thing. Mark my words. Set your clock, mark the calendar. It's coming. But again, my expectation might be that this one might not even hit the shelves, because 175,000 dislikes to 3.7 likes, they're going to find out real quick that it's not going to sell, or it's not going to sell very much. And I just don't know what the obsession is with propagandizing a certain ideology and then also encouraging kids to not strengthen themselves mentally or intellectually, and instead own being a snowflake. You own being negative. You own the fact that you can have a safe space and you don't have to have alternate opinions. That's weakness. That is not intellectual strength. That is not being better. That's not improving. That's not growing. That's not learning. You don't even have to change your opinion. Just learn a new one. I learn new ones all the time. That's why I'm good at defending my own. Because if you don't know what you're up against, you can't fight back. And that's what this guy is telling his readers. Don't learn your enemy. Don't learn your intellectual opponents. Don't learn what they have to say. Instead, stay in your bubble. Stay sheltered. We'll protect you. We'll tell you not how to think, but what to think. They're going to tell you what you should think. And that, my friends, is propaganda. I am not happy with this. I hope you guys send me your comments and whatnot, because it's odd. It's really odd, especially when he's lying. He blatantly lied about, he's like, I had a problem with Nova because of his muscles and his physique, and he's just so buff. And then he's all, and he jumps straight to, what's the name? Not Snowflake, the other one. Safe Space. Your stereotypical jock, muscular, built. And it's like, isn't that the problem you have with Nova? And then Night Thrasher, the Blades, and then you give the non-binary chick the Blades. It's like, you're a liar, and I don't like you. So, from one Daniel to another, I don't like you. And from Daniel's Hot Topics, now that's a Daniel I can get behind. So let's go ahead and I'm going to call this one a done topic. I have a bonus topic if you guys care to stick around. But before we get to that bonus topic, let's go ahead and hit some of these comments. I'll try to get through them fast because we got a bunch of them. But let's go ahead and read it right here. Daniel's Hot Topics. What's up, dude? He says, I did that. I played as the Green Goblin. It was fun, although the story was not very different, but fun because you have an advantage because you can fly and you have bombs. Exactly. I mean, you get to play it like later in the. I think you have to beat the game first, and then you get to play as that. But it is so much fun. You're absolutely right. And then it says also when I was playing as Green Goblin and taking out thugs, the thugs is fun because when you are in the air, you throw bombs and the thugs are just waiting to get blown up and they just run around. Yeah, it's definitely like cheating. It pretty much is cheating, but it's just fun. Like the way that they did the animations and stuff, it just feels good. It feels like the movie, and that's my favorite. I think that might be my favorite comic book movie is the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I love that movie so much, in part because of Willem Dafoe. And Green Goblin. So then it says Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is on track to start filming in June. Hey, that's pretty cool. I'll check that out. I'll see if maybe I can do a topic on that. I'll find the articles that relate to that, and then I'll discuss that. A lot of talk is happening right now that a lot of this quarantine and self-quarantine, self-isolation is going to be done and over, hopefully, towards the end of April. We don't know for sure. I mean, it could drag out. It could be much later than that. But, you know, our president has been saying that he wants to get the economy back up and rolling as soon as possible, as soon as it's safe, of course. And they're doing their best to get things moving. So the date could change, but they're talking about possibly Resurrection Sunday or Easter Sunday being that day. And, you know, I hope it is. I hope that we can get out as soon as possible and everyone's safe and it's not a risky thing, but it's the right thing to do and everyone gets back. So that's what I'm hoping. And then it says here, Sunday, March 29th, 2020, people are asking how long the COVID-19 quarantine will last. And I went to Dairy Queen and I got a grill burger meal, but all the chairs were on the tables and we can't dine in. But now it's all takeout and we can't even go to the restaurants. Yes. The mandate was that restaurants are essential because it's food providing and they want to keep that economy going. But what they have to do is basically say no one can eat in the restaurant. Like we went to Jamba Juice. We actually got a Jamba Juice, but what they do is they have you stand kind of close to the entrance and just order from there. And then we order from there and then we go back into our car and they bring it to your car and then you can just they just set it on the, I just said you could set it on the hood. They walked in and I got it off the hood and we did it that way. Like it was like totally legit. It's odd, but keep in mind, this is just temporary and it's hopefully going to help us, all be safe and healthy. So, and it looks like it is, from what I've heard. So Sunday, let me see. Oh, I read that one already. Then it goes, Daniel's Hot Topic says, Stuff of Legend, Daniel Loera. Have you heard, of Mecha Random 42 Nerd Rodic and the Midnight's Edge? They are a part of the fandom menace. And they are very nasty pieces of work, really unlikable. And then it continues, it says, unlikable people, they are always attacking groups of people, dissing people with an edgy smile on their faces. They are very mean and immature. I have not. So I've heard of the fandom menace, yes. I've actually seen quite a few of, you guys know who, what's his name? Oh, the Geeks and Gamers channel. I've watched a few of their videos. It's hard to watch a lot of it because they're quite negative quite often. And I prefer to, like, I'm not trying to be like only positive vibes, dude, or only negative. I'm not, I want news, you know, I'm trying to get like information and that kind of thing. They do a lot of good reporting. Like they check facts, but the vast majority of their material is, it is speculative or opinionative, which is not wrong, but it's also content that will end up being very negative if what you're talking about is a bummer. And I don't know all of them. I don't have any connection. But yeah, there's plenty of people out there that that do attacks and whatnot. I try not to do that. If you guys have followed my channel, I've done a couple of videos that have been negative or like ranty, but not a lot. The vast majority of my channel is quite upbeat, quite, positive, inquisitive. I do some theories and stuff, but it's not like I try not to be super negative because I know you guys are trying to have a good time. And because that's just kind of how I am, how I roll. But in this video, I'll call it as it is because, again, it's clearly something that has been pushed by Marvel over the last 5 years specifically. A lot of this type of content has come out where it's trying to push a lot of real world political or social political agendas into comics to preach. And this one clearly is doing that exactly. Very exactly from the trailer. So in this case, I'll call it out. But again, I'm not trying to say like no one has a voice. You can say whatever you want. Like I said, I'll read it, and I might smirk, I might laugh and joke, but it's because some of this stuff is so ridiculous that it's funny, and it is funny. And it's also funny because like the gender thing is really hard to keep up with because they constantly change that stuff, and it's like you can't expect people to keep up with that if you're going to change it all the time. In this situation, it's one thing, but it's like, biology differs from their worldview, and I don't share that worldview. So it's not, to me, it's not something that I live in day to day, and I'm not going to because I disagree with it. I think biologically, scientifically, it does not make any sense. So I'm not hating anybody, and you can do what you want, but and you're welcome on this channel. You're welcome. Anyone's welcome. So I'm not trying to hate, but I'm just saying clearly he's saying this is how it is, and you should all be snowflakes, and you should all be in a safe space and don't try to listen to other people who might disagree. And I think that's intellectual weakness. So that's my 2 cents. Sorry if that got a little heavy, but I just wanted to, I hope it wasn't, off-putting for many, but just trying to tell it like it is. I don't know the nerdrotic people that you're talking about. Mecha, you said here Mecha Random 42 Nerdrotic and Midnight's Edge are part of the Fandom Menace. Some of the stuff that comes out of the Fandom Menace is quite good and quite accurate, but I'm not like subscribed to all the things. I don't follow it. I'm not checking hashtags and all that stuff for them. I just stick to pretty much news and fan casting and that kind of stuff. So yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, Daniel, hopefully that answered your question. Yeah. But anyway, I'll jump into the bonus topic because we've been going for some time. I want to try to move it along before we hit 11 p.m. my time. Last topic of the day. You guys, and it's business, but it's movie related because of the businesses that it involves. Let's go ahead and jump into this one. So, Bob Iger from CEO stepped down. If you guys are not familiar, if you guys are not aware, Bob Iger